This is a little intense, isn't it? My name's Ben Gerrans. I make YouTube videos and I'm also a DJ. From Sydney, grew up here my whole life. It's the best place in the world. I couldn't imagine anywhere better to grow up. It's just such an idyllic place. Child Ben was a good kid, full of life. I guess similar to how I am now. And this is a story of how house music saved my life.
Yeah. My name's Andy. I've known Ben for a really long time. Yeah, I'm a photographer. Ben was only starting to make his YouTube channel when I first knew him, because we went to school together. And then one day I sent him a message being like, hey, you're doing the YouTube thing, I'm a photographer. And then we started hanging out like every day. It kind of just bonded over the idea of both being creative and ambitious, doing something.
Ben and I met at a party. Hanging out with Ben was a lot of fun and we got along really well and just had great times together. He was very charismatic. He had great energy. He was always up for a good time. Had a great attitude towards life.
I was never really a super musical kid growing up. I picked up a couple of instruments, but nothing really stuck too much. I had a few friends that were sort of into the electronic and house music space, but they dragged me to this festival in Europe. It was the moment where my obsession with house music really started, and sort of electronic music in general. I remember being at this festival, and I think it might have been the first festival that I ever went to. The moment where my mind really switched was, I was up on my mate's shoulders at this festival, and I remember looking back, and all I see is this sea of different flags. And I see Spanish flags and Croatian flags, a few Australian flags, USA, Canada, everywhere. And I just remember thinking, wow, like this music is just so inclusive of people, it doesn't matter who they are. And in that moment, that's when I sort of knew that this type of music is universal. It doesn't matter about the borders, religion, beliefs. It's just a whole bunch of people that all come together to celebrate life. And I thought that was a really special and beautiful thing. And since then, I just got fucking obsessed.
He was he felt very on top of the world, I'd say, but I didn't think that was a con in any way. I think it more so levitated him in a way where he just was so high on life and it was fun to be around.
You know that point where you think you're sort of invincible? I was overseas in another country, I was sort of living my dreams, and I was at that point where you don't realize that one bad decision can just spiral completely out of control and go really terribly down the track. And you don't really think about your future repercussions and doing some things that are really questionable. One sort of bad experience with some drugs led me into this crazy, terrible spiral of depression and anxiety. My life went from being at this huge high to just... So essentially I had this thing called depersonalization.
And he did tell me about the start to his depersonalization, which was a bit frightening to hear over the phone, just as like a carer, and not be able to do anything about it was quite sad and frustrating in a way. But I didn't understand the gravity of it.
It's really hard to understand unless you've gone through it. But the way that I see it is, you know, when you read over a word again and again and again and again, and it starts to lose its meaning. You could be saying a word that you're very familiar with, but then you keep on saying it to the point where you become so unfamiliar and disassociated with that word that it completely loses all of its meaning in general. That's sort of the way that I'd explain my mindset. People compare it to feeling like you're constantly in a dream that you don't know how to wake up from. I remember every single day I'd wake up and just have an instant anxiety attack of, is this real? Some days I'd wake up and I'd look myself in the mirror and I wouldn't recognize myself. I'd be talking to my girlfriend, my friends, and they would, to me, would just be completely unfamiliar faces.
I think Ben prior to Europe is very different to Ben after Europe. All the boys were heading to Europe and I was supposed to go with them. I don't know, when he came back, it was like, for a while, it was a bit of like a different Ben.
He was very dazed and confused, and he couldn't live in the moment, and I kind of watched him struggle through that, which was quite sad to watch. Just to see him struggle in just like little things, like waking up and like not recognizing me, but I wouldn't understand what was happening in the time. It would just kind of be like a very disjoint connection, and then later on he'd be like, I just had a panic attack, and I'm like, why didn't you tell me? Like, I didn't know what was going on. The
problem is with depersonalization, it's sort of a mental illness where the more you look into it, the heavier and more intense that it gets. So every day I'd be there on Wikipedia, like how to get over this. And I'd be reading Reddit and all these blogs, and they're like, once you've got it, you fucking got it for life. Like, you know, I'd listen to podcasts of people. I think there was a guy on Joe Rogan that had what I had, and he said he had it for 26 years. And it was at the point where it's like, holy shit, like, am I really gonna have to live with this? Like, is there a way out of this shit? Because
he's so good on camera and with acting, he's been able to he acted his way through it a lot, kind of fake it till you make it.
It was pretty tough experience. I remember my girlfriend threw this like surprise birthday party for me. All my friends were there who I hadn't seen for months because I'd just gotten back from the trip away, and they surprised me, and I just fucking full on didn't even recognize anyone. And it was like fucking heartbreaking. Yeah.
He came surprise party. He was like, everyone kind of thought he's a bit taken back from it. Like, he hasn't seen these people in so long. No one really knew what he was going through or whatever. But then that same night, we were out, and these two guys we're standing, having a chat on this dance floor, and I spot out the corner of my eye these two big, massive dudes walking over to Ben and I was like, oh, here's trouble, we're in a club. And one of them just comes straight up to Ben, taps him on the shoulder and goes, mate, I love your YouTube videos.
And we're DJs, and I was like, oh fuck, that's pretty cool. Like, I've always wanted to learn how to DJ. I didn't really think much of it, and then I saw the same two twins at a party like a few months later. You know how you mentioned that you wanted to learn how to DJ? Well, we can teach you how to do it. And those guys are the McMillan twins, who are now like my best friends to this day.
I'm Jack, and I'm a DJ. And hey, I'm Josh McMillan, twins with this guy. We're both DJs, 24 years old. Oh, yeah, 24. From there, we just got it started talking, and then we just kicked it off from there, and ended up hanging out the whole night, talked about music. Ben told us how he wanted to start getting into music.
And I remember thinking to myself about something I read, and it said, distraction is one of the best things that you can possibly do to get over depersonalization. So I said to him, yeah, like, I'd love to pick up DJing and learn how to do it.
Right behind where we're sitting right now, we taught him for the very first time how to beat match, and it was fucking horrible. He did not know what he was doing.
To be honest, I was fucking terrible at it.
And they've been teaching me how to DJ. How would you say I was going so far? I was struggling a bit. It's harder than you think.
Something about it just got me fucking obsessed. Maybe it was the challenge of being able to do something that I knew I wasn't naturally going to be good at, but I just got hooked.
We gave him his first set of DDJs.
They were nice enough to even give me their first pair of decks, and these are some of the sweetest souls I've ever met in my entire life. Like, I owe a lot of everything that's going on right now to those boys.
And I don't know if they even know this, but I was so broke at the time that I would have never been able to afford my own decks.
He just taught himself from there with us on the side.
And I just remember I would hop on, and it was almost like I just closed my eyes and forgot about everything else for like 8 hours. And I'd get off and be like, holy shit, like, that thing that I was just doing just then completely grounded me back to reality. And it wasn't something I got with anything else. So, you know, I kept doing it. I kept DJing. Everything else sort of fell away after that. The more I did it, the better my mental state became. I got better and better and better mentally.
When he started DJing, I think the rhythm harmonized his mental state in a way which is really beautiful and poetic, and kind of take control of himself again and of his self-passion and drive. I'd say DJing helped him a lot in terms of taking control and ownership of himself again.
And to be honest, I wasn't even focusing on getting better at DJing. I was just enjoying the whole process, and it's something that made me feel normal again, I guess. After a few months, I was almost completely back to normal, and I fucking couldn't believe it. That's why I think DJing sort of saved my life in a lot of ways, because at a time where I was just really like blind to the rest of the world, and I was just trying to grab onto something dearly, just trying to grab onto something that could just give me new meaning and direction in my life, and some sort of distraction where I was so obsessed with something that nothing else mattered. That's when DJing and house music really came into my life, and that's why I reckon I'll stand by the fact that it saved me. And since then, it's really been my mission to bring this music to other people's lives and sort of provide them with the same meaning that it did for myself.
The year of actually meeting Ben, I had this really massive goal, was just to change one person's life. And midway through meeting Ben, we had a little New Year's Eve party, and Ben came up to me and said, "Bro, you've completely turned my life around because of DJ and music." And it was ridiculous. I actually started crying. I just broke down because it was nuts that just changing one person's life could have that like really big effect on you.
We had no idea that single moment, one moment these two guys just come up and say hello has completely changed the trajectory for everyone in the group.
So we taught Ben how to DJ, and then within a couple of months he's gotten his first gig. And then a few months after that, he's started his own event, Spectrum.
You know, it's no secret that I have a seriously fucking obsessive personality. When I love something, I just take it and run.
I remember one time we went down to the beach one afternoon, and he basically said like the YouTube thing has kind of run its course a little bit. This is coming from Ben, who's up until that point, his whole idea was, I'm gonna become a YouTuber.
Or you could just see it in his eyes whenever like we showed him something new, how to do it on the decks. Like you could see that in his eyes, like the obsession of it slowly starting to build.
There was a part of me that was like, this is a very fucking bold thing to be saying. Being like, look, I'm dead serious about this. This is what I want to be doing.
Like I want to do this. Like I want to fucking give this a red hot go and just really, really commit myself to it. And after that, fucking nothing else mattered.
If anyone's got to fucking transition from one thing to the other, it's probably going to be Ben. The dude just fucking locks in on what it is he wants to do, and once he's set on it, he just fucking will not stop at anything to get there. And I think most people will say that about Ben. Like, he's that guy that is so obsessive about what he wants to do and manifests everything he does. It's a risk, but if the risk pays off, this could be massive.
So after that, it was bang, bang, bang. Like, started reaching out to all the people that we could to try to land a gig.
And I remember going over to Ben's because we were working on projects at the time. We kind of like just hung out and practiced DJing. Like, and I remember Ben being like, I want to try get a gig. We should be playing gigs.
We were sucking dick for like $50 for a gig. But I guess that was part of the fun of it, you know?
Our local club had this mini event running. They asked Ben and I if we wanted to play. And we kind of took that and ran with it in the sense of like, we always want to push that envelope a little bit further, just a tad. So we invited every single person we knew. We made a private Facebook group for it, and it started. And as soon as it started, everyone just erupted in this club.
And although the other DJs were so much better than us, mixing wise and technically, I feel like we just wanted to bring the energy of like 1,000 fucking people just bouncing around. And even though there was like 30 people there.
And I'm pretty sure that same night actually, something happened where the music cut out. And I completely froze, and I was like, fuck, fuck, fuck. And all I hear to the right of me is, hey! Hey, baby. Everyone erupts, and Ben just saved the entire moment. And then from that point on, I was just like, this dude, no matter how uncomfortable a person might feel about taking risk or anything, the dude knows how to back it up and entertain to a level that I haven't seen before. Didn't even think twice about it. Just snapped into entertainment mode and saved the whole night. That night meant so much for Ben and I on the sense of, we should really be trying this.
Things started to pick up a little bit. Right as the snowball was just starting to take off, you know, COVID hit. The whole time I was DJing, I was there like, you know what'd be really, really fucking cool? To be able to make music of my own that I can play in my DJ sets. So that's when my obsession with producing music actually started. And then when I told my mates, you know what, like, I'm not really digging this YouTube business as much as I used to. It was the case of, you've worked so hard to build what you've been doing on social media for the last, well, it'd been 6 years, I think, at that point. Like, do you really want to throw this away and put it on the back seat? I guess that's just the point where I had to just commit. If you don't believe in yourself, then why would anyone else? I knew that this was something bigger than just myself, and I made it my mission since then to do it, bring that joy to people's lives that this music brought to me. I ended up meeting my mate Harpoon, and he taught me my first ever lesson on Ableton, and I was fucking hopeless. But you know what, something about it just really intrigued me. I was like, I'm gonna make him proud, I'm gonna start making some tunes. And so I did. and it was the perfect time to do it. That's where my friend Dom came in as well, who Harpoon introduced me to. He is just an absolute wizard, and after that we were doing tutoring sessions like every single week. I was just obsessed with learning how to get better.
His progression was quiet until he actually started producing.
Once he's got something, it's always about stepping it up to that next level.
Lockdown starts to fizzle out. The owner of this club that Andy and I had previously DJ'd at, his name's Tropicana. I'll give him a little shout out now. They did good for us.
Kind of Ben called me, it's like, yeah, they want us to go in and talk about something, we're not too sure what it is. And I was like, fuck, what did we do? Did we get kicked out one night when we were drunk? Like, what was it?
And he was like, hey, would you ever think about running your own event?
We know nothing about events. Like, we just learned to DJ. On the way home, we're just thinking about all the names we should call it.
And you're like, dude, what the fuck? Like, we got no idea how to run an event. We'll give it one go. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And so we created this thing called Spectrum, which was this little event that we ran in the underground basement area of a club.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to our first event, #Spectrum.
When an opportunity arises, we wanted to take it to the farthest extent we can, put everything we had into it. And to our surprise, it was a massive hit.
We couldn't fucking believe it. COVID acted almost like a catalyst to people just being so urgent to just go out, let loose, and just celebrate.
And then we went on to our second event, third event, fourth event, all sold out. We just want to create energy, invite our friends, play good music, and just have a great time. Because I think after the year everyone's had locked in, everyone's just fiending to get out and party and live life.
You can't really predict being at the right place at the right time, but I feel like if you devote enough energy and sort of enthusiasm to everything that you do, those sort of opportunities come up. And Spectrum is definitely one of those things, and it changed everything again.
I first thought, yeah, maybe he's going to go somewhere with DJing. Once you started the whole Spectrum events, you could just see that he was going places.
After Spectrum, I sort of felt like people finally saw me for truly what I wanted to do. And that was a really special moment for me, man. It felt like all my hard work was finally starting to pay off.
In his eyes, and both him and Andy's eyes, yeah, you could definitely see that, like, this is what he wanted to do. This is what he's here to do. To show people what really house music can do. It's just like that big universal language.
I think Andy was saying a story, and it's like, if someone asks you to build a wall, don't think about building a wall. Just think about placing the perfect brick. And by the time you place one perfect brick every single day for a long enough period of time, you'll have a perfect sturdy wall. And I felt like that was the point that we were sort of getting up to. We had this nice sturdy wall, and it was pretty sweet. It sort of felt like we were building up some really nice momentum. We had that perfect wall, we had that momentum, and then it just starts to crumble out from under you. COVID hit again, everything sort of came to a staggering halt.
All I want, I will become. All I want.